Welcome back to our podcast. I am Courtney.
And I'm Robbie.
And this week we are going to talk about the content marketing strategy.
I love good content.
And Robbie, this is your wheelhouse.
It is. I have to admit, I'm a content nerd. I'm a junkie.
I love it.
I love good content.
So I have some questions prepped for you.
All right, let's do it.
So let's dive in. So the first thing I would love to know is, how do you go about identifying your target audience?
That's a really good question. And everyone kind of has their own approach. HubSpot has their way of doing it. You know, other technologies have their ways of doing it. Mine really comes down to what my goals are. Let's think about what we want to achieve. Do we want to achieve a certain dollar amount? Do we want to tap into a specific group of people? So I'm going to use an example that we've been working with here at Leap and Lizard Labels, and that's procurement officers. So one of the things that I looked into was our target audience, our goal is to reach out to these, maybe we love small businesses. Don't get me wrong. We love small businesses.
Yes.
But we also love medium-sized businesses, you know?
For sure.
They help us continue to work with the small businesses as well. So in kind of looking at this, I started thinking, who is making the decisions for medium-sized businesses? And I've worked for a few different medium-sized businesses, and 9 times out of 10, it's some sort of procurement person who deals directly with vendors, vets vendors, makes sure that they align with the company's goals and their culture. With that in mind, we kind of thought, okay, our target audience is going to be medium-sized businesses with procurement officers.
That makes sense.
Or director of procurement, head of procurement, things like that. So we kind of worked backwards. We looked at our goal. We thought, who is most likely to help us achieve that goal? And then who within that subset is most likely to be the decision maker, to carry that through.
That makes a lot of sense. And kind of continuing on that kind of segues into the buyer persona.
Yeah. So, with buyer personas, the first step in that is identifying your target audience. We've identified procurement officers as our target audience, procurement, head of procurement, etc. So when developing a buyer persona, I really sat down to try and get in the mind of a buyer, of the buyer.
Yeah.
So I looked at socioeconomic, things like, are they predominantly male or female? What's the salary range? What are their interests? What are their hobbies? Where are they going for news? Where are they, what are the biggest problems that they have? What's going to make their life easier? So asking myself all these questions and doing a ton of research. A good buyer persona is not just something that you can come up with based on what you already know. It's about how well you can dig.
Absolutely.
So, really digging in and finding the information, salary ranges, socioeconomics, locations. Maybe we wanted to target procurement officers only on the West Coast. We also, in the buyer persona, also looked at things like, do we want to work with publicly or privately traded companies?
That makes sense.
Do we want to work with businesses with over 200 employees, So we really started to narrow down the procurement officer buyer persona based on all of these different factors. And it's a lot of data work, and I'm a data nerd. So it was really fun to see everything and kind of build out a complete profile.
That's awesome. And you mentioned something in that where really identifying the problem that we are hoping to solve.
Yeah.
So can you speak a little bit to that?
Yeah. So I have to give a shout out to a procurement officer that I worked with at one of my previous employers. Her name is Ellen. And
hi, Ellen.
Love you, Ellen. And I learned a lot from her because I listened to her a lot. And one of the biggest pain points that she always said was, I'm so tired of people messaging me on LinkedIn. I'm so tired of everyone reaching out to me. I've got so many different vendors. I've got so many different problems that I'm trying to solve. And for every problem, I've got 50 people reaching out to me to try and solve it. So one of the first things that I thought of was, okay, procurement officers are overwhelmed, right? And they have to go through and find the right person for everything. So we created an entire campaign on vetting your vendors. So it's an ebook on how to vet your vendors. We wrote articles about it. We featured it in our newsletter. And that really spoke to a pain point.
That's
right?
Awesome.
But ultimately what you want to do is you want to find whatever problem it is that your person is having. So if, we went very, very micro with that.
Yes.
We targeted one specific person, procurement officers. We can look at it from a macro perspective, though, and kind of zoom out. And we can say, we can even be more general. Let's take some of our clients, for example. They need labels, okay? Let's get very general with it. They need labels. Now, like last episode, we talked about coffee labels. We can get very honed in.
Absolutely.
But the problem is they need labels. They need them at the right cost. They need a simplified process. They don't want to have to talk to people on the phone all day. They want things done for them and done right.
Totally. That makes a lot of sense.
So you can go, with these buyer personas and target audiences, you can go as, deep down the rabbit hole as you want, or you can stay as high level as you want. If you're looking for high quality labels, stickers, banners, floor decals, and window clings, look no further than Leap & Lizard Labels. We use top-notch products to ensure the perfect delivery every time. Our family-owned business has been serving the continental U.S. for over 13 years. We're so sure you'll love our products, we're offering new customers 20% off their first order. With no order minimums and no setup fees, there's zero risk to trying us out. Email us at team@leapandlizardlabels.com and mention coupon code LEAPSUNBOUND for 20% off your first order. That's team@leapandlizardlabels.com, mentioning coupon code LEAPSUNBOUND for 20% off your first order.
We know that not every strategy works for every business.
Yeah.
So it's all about defining a strategy that works for us and them. And so can you speak a little bit to that?
Yeah, ultimately, I think when we were sitting down to come up with our content strategy, we had to look at okay, what resources do we have available? Do we have the people to execute a good content strategy? Or are we going to be constantly spinning our wheels and things are constantly going to be a problem and everyone's always going to feel behind, So that's a big one. Just identifying resources and figuring out what you can and can't manage, what you can and can't handle. Likewise, it's meeting your audience where they are. So our content strategy had to be very closely aligned with our social strategy to make sure that, if we're producing all of this content, it doesn't just sit on our blog, it goes somewhere. So, we involved our social media manager to make sure that as we're publishing, content, it's always being pushed out to our larger audiences. We loop it in with our email marketing strategy. So, again, we're meeting people where they are, but not overextending ourselves as a team.
That makes a lot of sense. And so with that and meeting them, we talk about lead generation and what that looks like. So can you speak to that a bit?
Yeah. So we kind of came up with a strategy, a content strategy here at Leap & Lizard where we would post twice a week on our blog with keyword-rich content that really is aiming to solve problems. And we kind of focused that we would post both on a micro and a macro level. So our content strategy was really, we're going to solve problems for the procurement officer or for the band manager that needs band stickers or, whatever it may be. But we're also going to post stuff that's higher level. Maybe it's, how to measure your label or, for labels, how, what materials you might want to use. That's more general to our industry. That way we're kind of, getting everything that we need. We're getting our more general people and we're getting our more specific people.
Absolutely.
And from there, we also started to look at an inbound strategy. And of course, we follow the HubSpot methodology. There's a reason it's so popular. There's a reason it works. So, we looked at ebooks that we could create to really solve some of these problems. To give another example, we realized that a lot of people are designing on Canva. Not everyone is investing thousands of dollars in design school and
100%.
design software or graphic designers. We have clients that are solopreneurs,
Absolutely.
And maybe they're making candles and they need their labels, but they don't have $500 to pay a graphic designer. So they jump on Canva, they create something. Well, what we were finding was that people were creating stuff that's not compatible with the print-ready files that we need.
That makes sense.
So we started publishing blogs and ebooks on how to create print-ready files using Canva or design tips using Canva. And we're generating leads through those based on search of people who are creating labels on Canva. And so we may not have been their first stop, but then we become their last stop and their most important stop.
Absolutely. And it's really important, it sounds like, that when you generate these leads through these ebooks and blogs, that it's really important that you nurture these leads.
Oh, yes. Yeah, lead nurturing. If you're not lead nurturing, then the first two steps of your content marketing strategy are pointless. You don't need to be blogging. You don't need to be doing ebooks if you're not lead nurturing. It's just so important to make sure that, if somebody comes to your website and downloads an ebook, that you follow up with them. Now, I hate creepy lead nurturing.
Can you explain that a little bit?
Yes. Okay. So I have experience in the past where I've put in all my information on a form. This happened to me just the other night, actually. I submitted for a form for a chiropractor, okay? And within 5 minutes, I got an email, I got a Facebook ad served to me, and I got a text message that was meant to be from Ashley, the front desk person, but it was at 11:30 at night.
Oh,
so
goodness.
Ashley was not texting me.
No.
And so that's why lead nurturing shouldn't be about fooling people. It should be about being honest with people. I would have responded much better to that text message had it just said, we're not open right now, but I would love to send you information tomorrow morning.
Absolutely.
But not hey, Robert, you coming in for your back cracking?
At midnight?
Yeah, see you later, Ashley. I love personalization, but I don't like it when it, when we don't take into consideration where people are and what they're doing.
Absolutely.
So, a good lead nurture stream is, continually following up based on their interactions with you. HubSpot has this system where they look at your email health, right? And your unsubscribes count negatively toward your email health. So you want to nurture these leads, but you don't want to nurture them so much that they feel the need to click unsubscribe.
That makes so much sense.
So we're not bothering them. We are actively contributing to them. So with an ebook that we create on how to design using Canva, our lead nurture stream may be 3 to 5 emails over the course of 2 to 3 months. But, if they haven't become a customer. But in those emails for 2 to 3 months, we're adding value. So now we're saying, hey, you downloaded our Designing on Canva ebook. Check out this ebook on, 8 ways to grow your business organically. So we're adding more value every time we contact them.
And we're building a relationship digitally.
Absolutely. Just like we talked about last week, we talked about building community at trade shows. We're building community online.
That makes a ton of sense.
Yeah. And so I think lead nurturing is just as important as lead generation. It's just as important as, your top of the funnel activity.
Absolutely.
So, because you're just trying to push people down the sales funnel.
100%. So I would say, that is a really in-depth, high level, a little oxymoron there.
A little bit of both.
Of content marketing strategy. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. The last piece of a content marketing strategy is data and analytics.
Yeah.
Reviewing and seeing, like, maybe that blog didn't perform well, or maybe that email nurture stream didn't get any opens, and that's fine. But then you start to look at why.
Exactly.
And you start to say, maybe I need to change my email subjects, or maybe I need to space them out more, or maybe that blog content didn't perform because it wasn't answering the question. It wasn't providing a solution to the problem. So you start to look at things and you start to test. That's what marketing is. It's one big experiment that you repeat over and over and over again, differently, expecting different results.
Exactly. It's learning.
Yes.
Learning and evolving and changing.
Constantly.
Always.
Yep.
Well, that is fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us this week. We look forward to next episode, so stay tuned and have a fantastic rest of your day.